Court will come to order. It is Monday, March the 14th, 2022, 9 o'clock in the morning. The Kerr County Court is now in session. We'll remind everyone, if you would, is turn your telephones off or at least to vibrate so they don't interrupt the proceedings. Because the rule is, if they do, I take it up. I haven't taken one, I don't want to take yours today. So, with that, if you would, please rise and join us in the prayer of the pledge, led by Commissioner Bluff.
Lord, we're grateful to have the good health to be here together today. We ask your blessings on each family represented here in their household and on this county. Guide us through a process today, Lord. Help us to remember that while we make these decisions, that you're the boss. We thank you for every kindness. We ask that you'd send us some rain. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please be seated. This is the point in our regular Commissioner Court meeting that we invite public input. This is an opportunity for people to approach the court and share with what's on your mind. We call it input. We don't have the opportunity to respond, but we certainly have the opportunity to listen. We ask that those that would offer input to the court do so on items that are not on the agenda. If it is on the agenda, we ask that you wait until that agenda item is called. That would be a more appropriate time to hear your input. So with that, I invite anybody in the public that would like to address the court. There being none, then we'll proceed on to Commissioner's comments. Start with precinct 1.
We lost a volunteer firefighter, good guy, Scott Watson, a big, gentle giant, and he's going to be missed. We're down by one, and they've fought a fire since he's been gone. And I just wanted to let everybody know, send our condolences to the family. And there will be something at the Turtle Creek Volunteer Fire Department Saturday. More information pending.
Commissioner Precinct 2.
It's exceptionally dry. Please be careful.
Yeah, we had a big fire out in Precinct 4, right? Precinct 3.
I just hope the cold weather's over. Good gosh. late, low for this, like 22 or my house.
Precinct 4.
Saturday there was a chili cook-off in Ingram, and it was for a benefit for the Ingram Police Department, and it was a good turnout. It was a fun event right beside the river, and it was a good turnout. Fun stuff. I'll echo what y'all said about the fire hazards and stuff. There was somebody near me yesterday in the wind burning a brush pile. Just got to use your head on these things.
Well, as everyone knows, this is really the first day of daylight savings time affects us. And my circadian rhythms are a little off. Got to stutter step. Sure, I'm not the only one that's happened. But it brought back some memories. So I'm going to wax philosophical for a moment, a little bit of history. How many people remember the year that the United States had daylight savings time all year long? It's 1974. I have just been commissioned as a young second lieutenant in the United States Army. And Israel had been attacked by Anwar Sadat, if you'll remember. And in 6 days, the world changed. And no one's picked on them since. And I doubt that they ever will. But the result was an energy crisis. Does this sound familiar? Reading headlines this morning. The price of oil jumped from slightly less than $3 a barrel to $12 a barrel. I grew up in the oil patch. This was unbelievable at the time. Gas prices quadrupled. So this is not the first energy crisis we've been through. And for those of you that don't recall, speed limits went down to 55, God forbid. So with that, we're ready for the consideration agenda. So we'll call item 1.1, consider, discuss, and take appropriate action to change the courthouse lights to yellow and blue to honor Ukraine. Irene Vanderbilt. And just a minute, before you get to the podium, I forgot to mention, Commissioner Moser contacted me, and a shout out goes to Julia Finger at River Hill, who turned 102 years old. And we commend you, say happy birthday. Thank you.
Good.
You may take the podium.
I'm back. I'm waving my flag again, so y'all are pretty familiar with my mission. I appreciate the time and hope that you guys can kind of feel a certain amount of sympathy for what is happening in Ukraine, because most of the world is. I mean, we've got over 2 million refugees have fled the country of Ukraine now in the less than 3 weeks. That's an incredible amount of people to flee in terror from this kind of assault. The last assault that they recorded was only 11 miles from Poland. Okay, Poland is part of, that body that wants to save the rest of them. They won't want to let Ukraine in yet, and I hope they do. But it's gotten to where they're getting this close. Or if they go over the border, will the Europeans respond, or will they just let it go by? Now, Russia is inviting China to come in and supply them with stuff, which shows me that they're maybe a little weaker than they want us to know. But basically, what started as an excursion by Russia with some shots across the border and all these hundreds of tanks around, has now turned into a horrific event. And it's basically encroaching into the entire country. It used to be just the surrounding areas, and it was the east and the west. And thank you. People are coming in to support me a little bit, so I appreciate that. So my point is, President Zelensky has mounted a big campaign exhorting the world for help. We can't maybe do that as much as we'd like. Some of us might like to do more, depending on the administration. But one of the things that the world has really started doing is just showing its support by getting the flag colors on their buildings. I mean, it's like all over the world. Texas, Dallas, San Antonio, Houston, East and West Coast, Middle Coast, Ohio, Canada. I mean, around the entire globe, people are putting these flags up in colors on buildings at night. If you saw Dallas, looked gorgeous and all that. I mean, in any way. And really, that's all I'm asking. I was going to go into a whole long thing, but I would just like to see if the court would consider for a few days, a week, or whatever you would like to do this in support of Ukraine, to just put blue and yellow lights on the courthouse. I guess they would be from top down. You have them on the roof, right? Coming down. Was that how it would work?
That's where the lights are.
Okay. Anyway, and so I also just want to thank a few people, the ones that have come here today to support me. You all know these guys. And then Sherry Vahidi, the artist over at the hair salon with David Jackson, made me a painting of sunflowers, which is the Ukrainian flower. Guess what the Texas flower is what color?
Yellow.
Hello? Is this not kind of a weird little coincidence? So I'm actually considering, this young lady here does tattoos, and she already did one for me for my Ukrainian crest. And soon I will be writing on my arm. They say once you start, you can't stop with the tattoos. Trying to keep them tasteful. Texukranian with a sunflower and a blue bonnet joining together. Is that cool? Anyway, it's not for me, it's just awareness. I'm really just trying to spread the awareness, and so I appreciate.
She's been working very hard.
Thank you. Well, so we appreciate any consideration. How do y'all feel about that?
I'm not sure of the logistics of doing it. And my first question is talking to maintenance, to get maintenance department to tell us, what does this entail to do that? And then we do it at Christmas. To be honest, I'm not sure how the lights are set up around there.
You've done them purple before for domestic violence. the month in recognition of domestic violence, and I believe at the time someone donated the purple light bulbs, but I believe that Shane and his staff put them in after y'all's approval.
That would be, and the second point that you alluded to is, I'm not sure it's appropriate to use county funds to buy the light bulbs.
Okay, I have people who will contribute to that.
Yeah.
So
I don't
if
have a
you,
problem with doing it.
How much are they worth, folks?
I'm not sure, but I've got people who can step up, and I think if I did a little GoFundMe, they would. I've been getting a lot of support from the community, and so I think that shouldn't cost maybe, what, $100? I don't know.
Shane should know that.
Shane should
Yeah,
know.
you should. You know, I don't have a problem with it, but I'm kind of like Jonathan. I don't know that we can use county funds for that.
Well, if
But
you get
maybe
donated.
get some donations and what have you, I wouldn't have a problem with it.
I'll make a motion as long as the light bulbs are donated, and please coordinate that with Shane as to the type of light bulbs we need. We go ahead and, for a week to start
Okay.
with, or until maybe until next commissioner's court, to start with, we replace the light bulbs with blue and yellow alternate.
Well,
Second that.
We've got a motion and a second to approve lighting courthouse blue and yellow, subject to private funding. Do I understand it correctly? Any discussion?
Well, when are we gonna end this?
I said do it for 2 weeks.
No, I don't mean that.
No.
It's domestic abuse, Bosnia, then what will be next and what will be next. I don't like it, I don't wanna do it, I'm not for it. For a lot of reasons. Money, changing it up. Regardless, you have county employees doing it. I just don't like the idea of us jumping onto the virtue signaling. And who knows what's gonna happen with this, how long it's gonna go on. We're gonna support it for a week. And then we're not gonna care about it anymore. That's what
that's not
gonna
true.
be like. No, I know you have a good heart. I've known you for years, I think. I know where you're coming from. This whole sort of thing I don't like.
this is a word that is threatening the whole Eastern, I mean,
And putting lights on this building won't do a damn thing about it.
well, the whole rest of the world disagrees with you, because
Well,
you're,
then let's light up the whole world and then
We're not
it'll all
gonna-
go away.
We're not gonna argue.
okay, I don't mean to
We'll
argue,
discuss it.
I'm
But we're
sorry.
not gonna argue about it.
Just saying that, okay, you're entitled to your opinion, so I'm just asking.
Any other discussion? I'll wait. I've told Irene. I don't know how I feel about it. I think I feel proud and good, but my son and grandson are talking about taking a missionary trip to Poland to work with the refugees. That's doing something. Lighting the courthouse, like Harley said, it's a feel-good move. And we certainly want to support Irene and Ukraine. But the truth of the matter is, and I speak as a county-wide elected official, I don't know of anyone except somebody with Alzheimer's maybe that does not support Ukraine and condemn Russia for what's going on in this county. Not a one. I think to a person. You can drive down the street. I invite anybody that supports what Russia's done to contact me directly here at the courthouse. It is abominable, and everybody knows this is a travesty. We're on the brink of world war over a man's vanity and pride. This is stupid. My concern that I share with Commissioner Blue is not the cause. I support the cause completely, 110%. I'm concerned that what this is, it continues the invitation for people to bring their personal agendas, oftentimes political agendas, to the court for some sort of ratification. We're going to pass a resolution. We passed a resolution a month or so ago in support of private education. And Commissioner Harris, I thought, said it best. He says, we all support private schools, right? We all do. Well, then I started getting calls from superintendents saying, well, what this is really about is there's a political movement for school dollars that are paid to the school districts to follow the students. And so we're going to undermine public education. Well, nobody's against that. Nobody wants to undermine public education, right?
It depends on what schools.
Well, but the principle of public education is uniquely American.
Yes.
We started this thing about we want to educate our citizenry. And it's necessary, and we can see how we failed in so many ways out there, but it's still a virtue that we defend and we espouse. Whether it's masks, vaccines, right to life, we have so many political issues out there that people want to bring to us as the county, we're the county government, and say, we ask you to bless our cause. Well, I don't want after the Democratic convention to turn the courthouse blue because they've nominated somebody for president. I don't want to turn the courthouse red after the Republican convention. And so how many times do we do this? What do we do? I'm not against it. I'm just saying that the public needs to understand that's not what local government's about. We can't do anything about gun rights. We can't do anything about abortion rights. That's just not in our wheelhouse. We don't have authority to do that. I'm not going to vote against it, Irene. I just think that we need to be a little bit more circumspect about how often we adopt these causes that other people bring to us that we may support, but does the county government really need to weigh in because we can't do anything about it? I know your heart is broken over this thing, and my heart's broken too. But the idea that people come to us with political causes to do this, to do that, we're in the business of running a local government.
The city of San Antonio didn't seem to have a problem with it. That's a public entity. The city, they've done it in Austin, in Dallas. They've done it in Democrat, Republican, whatever. I just don't see that this is, you're cloaking it in a completely,
It's a political
respectfully, it is. Well, it is. And I'm sorry that 500 other causes have come ahead of me, and I keep, I got the short straw. I don't see why this is such a thing. I'm just asking for a little bit of support. Do you know how many Ukrainians live in this area down in San Antonio? You go to Ohio, half the state is Ukrainian.
How can I state it any clearer? You have my unqualified support. The Ukrainian people have my unqualified support.
Okay.
I simply do not support the practice,
Right.
the policy that we engage in these political environment, in political issues. We've had people lined up down the hall. We've had them upstairs in rooms. We've had almost riots.
Yeah, but that was something against you, something that you were yourselves discussing, like ARPA and that. That was kind of like, there was a debate here in this county over whether you should have fixed it. I'm not doing anything like that. This is.
I will say, I understand the judge's comments and Commissioner Ballou's, but the reality is that we have and we continue to weigh in on political issues. We have signs out on our courthouse. We allow things for all kinds of social events. And if we're gonna draw a line and say no more, that we don't change the lights year round to keep them, we don't do Christmas lights, we don't do any of that stuff, that's one issue. We're gonna take that stance. I don't wanna take that stance. I like us weighing in on some certain social and political issues. And I think we should continue to do it.
Well, I think that's a non sequitur personally, but if you wanted to take the corner out there and put something up, I wouldn't have been opposed to that. But we're gonna change the lights on the building and keep doing this
Well,
as
if
a
that's
practice.
too massive of a thing.
Let me finish, please.
I'm sorry.
Everybody has taken that corner and put up whatever they're gonna do out there, right? You've seen it, you've taken pictures of it, you've put it in the paper. So why the lights? Why can't
Because
you take the
lighting these
corner?
buildings has become a thing all around the world in
It
support
doesn't
of
have to
Ukraine.
happen here,
Huh?
and it has to happen in Kirk County, because the
Well, why
rest of the
not?
world is
Why
doing it.
couldn't it happen in Kerr County? Why do
There's
we
a
have
whole
to
bunch
be
of stuff that we
so
don't allow in Kirk
isolationist?
County that happens other places, and I'm glad. So why don't you just, get a banner, put it on the corner out there like everybody else has done? I don't think anybody here would be opposed to that.
I actually, I don't have a problem with the lights, but I would prefer that on the corner as well.
Well, I'm not against any of it. I'm just against the policy of doing this. I think it sets a bad precedent. I think we went down that rabbit hole and look where it's gotten us. And now we're debating a unanimous support of a country because of policy of abuses that we've done in the past. That's not fair to you. Short straw, I understand. I sympathize with that. But it still doesn't change the fact that I don't think we ought to be weighing in on these issues. We've got a motion and a second. Is there any other debate? Those in favor, raise your hand. Those opposed, raise your hand. Those abstaining, raise your hand. 3-1-1, but with no opposition. Ira, no
Well,
opposition.
thank you. So this means you approve to do
Yes,
the
until
lights?
the next commissioners court meeting.
Thank you. Thank you very much, and I appreciate the debate. I didn't know how much pushback I would get, although I'm not surprised, but it's fine. And I love y'all. Thank you so much for everything you do. It's not an easy job to sit up there every week and get hammered, so, by the public. Anyway, but I do
No
appreciate it.
hammering was intended.
No.
This is fair notice to the other short stars that come behind you. I'm not built for these things.
Well, we've got more people who come in support of me, and you'll be happy to know they voted for it, so God bless.
And we love you too, Arnie.
And thank you. I
We love you,
know I
too.
do. Thank
And
you.
I appreciate
Yeah,
your
we're
passion.
It is what it is.
Thank you.
Thank you. And thank y'all. Everybody else at home? One more thing. Turn on your lights at home. Thank you. All right.
Item
Appreciate
1.2,
it.
consider, discuss, and take appropriate action to approve the increase in pay on the position schedule for legal assistants and attorneys. Vanessa, let's go vote.
Yes.
And for those of them that don't know who Vanessa is, she is the office manager for the public defender's office.
Yes, Judge.
What's the official title?
Office Administrator.
Office administrator for the new five county public defender's office.
So we have 3 new hires and 1 promotion that we would like to increase the payroll schedule to reflect their offer and also their promotion.
Let me explain a little bit what has happened here. They have salary ranges for their employees, but the position schedule to the budget, the amount that carries forward or is in there is set as of October 1. And they want to hire within the salary range, but it's more in 3 instances than the previous person makes. And it's based on additional experience or things like that. That's why. So they're not, I mean, it's consistent with their the salary schedule that we have approved for that office. It's just that they're higher than the previous employees that were in the slots for.
But the last meeting when we discussed this, they're not gonna be step and grade employees anywhere, are they?
At the moment, they're not, but the intent will be for the attorneys will not be. But we're looking and working with the PDO and we're basically with Vanessa on the non-exempt employees to have them step and grade split into our schedule
After October 1?
after next October. Yes.
So these have to fit into a specific category. They have to be in a range so that we can figure out what that is. Have we done that? Do we
The
have
ranges are approved.
The ranges are approved. And
salary ranges? Yeah, but when they get entered into the system of step and grade, is that, do we know what that's gonna be?
No,
Not yet. And
That's my question.
what they're asking us to do is to approve a comparable step and grade and step, is actually the proper way to say it, for these employees, these legal assistants, and I guess attorneys too, but they're in their acceptable range. But fair notice to the court, fair notice to the public. In the budget process this year, it is my intent that we come out on the other side with all non-lawyer employees in a graded step.
Good.
So,
And if we have to modify them in the budget process, we'll discuss that at this time.
Should that
She's
be
trying to
part of
just
the
get-
motion?
Huh?
Should that be part of the motion then?
I'm just telling you,
I
that's
would
my,
like that.
that's my intent.
I mean-
we've been trying to do this for 3 years now.
Right.
but these could change October 1. They could, whatever This could be
We'll
temporary.
revisit these specific issues during the budget process as they come before the court.
Okay.
But what she's asking us to do today is to go ahead and put this in place so that they can continue to operate smoothly, seamlessly. And then we'll save any debate we have about where to slot them for the budget process.
Yeah, and I don't mind putting it in the motion
Okay.
from your standpoint. I think, and this isn't unique to the PDO, there are other offices, in my mind, we need to look at our policy, that are on the grade and step, but they're, at the moment, senior or professional type employees, and it's very difficult to rehire someone when someone leaves for whatever reason, to fill that at a step one.
Yeah, right.
Just because that person, I mean, if you're hiring, a legal assistant, you may need someone with some experience. Right now, our policy is it comes to Commissioner's Court and we can approve it. And I think that's good, but it is.
If we're hiring a legal assistant, they're gonna have experience.
Right.
I can assure you
Right.
that.
So anyway, we just need to look at that overall process in certain groups, but I think that we need to get them on the grading step. I'll make a motion that we approve the request as submitted, and
And if I may, I would also like it to be retroactive to the effective date.
okay, boy.
Yeah, when you were here last time?
Yes.
What's the effective
The
date?
effective date would depend on the hire. Some of them are March 7th, another may be February 20th.
February the 22nd, March 1st, March 7th.
These are all the issues that you brought to us a couple of weeks ago.
Yes, Judge.
And at that time, you'd already made one hire, right?
We had already made all the hires.
Yeah.
All of them?
Yes.
Okay. So the effective date would be the same day?
It would be when their offer was. So some of them were able to start sooner than others.
Okay, so you're just saying by the time you came.
It would be effective their start date,
Their start date,
Yeah, got it.
not the offer date, the start date.
the start date.
But this is to catch us up with where we need to be, so that we're legal.
A motion to effective to the start date for the 3 employees or 4?
It's 3 new hires and 1 promotion.
Okay, for those 4 employees, to bring the salary up to what the offer was, they're all within the salary range. And in addition to that, these, any non-exempt employees of the PDO will be transitioned into the grade and step system at our next budget year.
Second.
You got the motion and a second to approve the request as presented. Any other discussion?
Can I, Kurt, I have a question.
Okay.
I'm not familiar with the salary range for the public defenders versus the district attorneys, assistant district attorneys. Could I get that figure? Because I'm looking at the salary study, and prosecutor's salary range is $65,936 to $93,142. And then I'm looking at the planning study from the Texas Indigent Defense Commission, and the salaries for a felony defender is $100,000. So I'm just curious to know what the salary range is for a prosecutor, felony prosecutor versus a felony defender.
2 things. One, the PDO was not incorporated into the salary study because we didn't have it on board yet. So and I think you'll probably recall, I tried during the last budget cycle to try to get the attorneys and staff of your department and the 198 and the PDO and county attorney's office all basically within ranges. I'm not sure we totally got there, but I think we got a lot closer than we were. And I think it's my intent is that they should all be, comparable as much as you can, at least within a salary range.
And that's what the salary study recommended. I'm just curious. I had a really hard time getting 95,000, and so I'm just curious to know what they are.
Well, yours is because of the position statements.
I'm sorry?
When they're on the position statement, we're stuck with the position statement. And you never seem to understand that, but that when it was on your position, on the county position statement, that's all your budget had.
I'm not sure what you're talking about, a position statement?
Position schedule.
Okay, a position schedule. Position schedule, when I ask for them, just simply sets out who the employee is and how much they get paid.
No, it's a position.
I'm not understanding.
That's the budget, that is.
That is the budget for that position, not that
Correct,
individual.
I understand that. So again, my question is, what is the salary recommended salary ranges, or what's been approved by the Commissioner's Court for a felony defender versus a public defender?
It would help if you would sit down and visit with John Bull on these things.
Well,
Instead of coming into the court and wasting our time to go over this and submitting Public Information Act requests to other departments and elected officials here at the county, it's disruptive. If you want to help us get these things standardized, help us, get involved. Don't just come in here and fuss at us.
I'm not fussing, I'm asking a question. And I have gone, first of all, the only public requests I've made are to HR, because they're the ones that maintain those records. I'm not gonna go to John Bull and ask him, just like I don't want somebody to come to me and ask me how much my employees get paid. HR pays them, I ask HR. And my question is very simple, I'm not here to fuss or
Okay.
get upset. I'm just curious to know what the salary ranges are.
Ask HR.
Can HR not tell me now?
No, I mean. maybe
HR may know.
I can tell you now.
Yes, I would appreciate that.
The range for felony public defender is 85 to 100. The range for misdemeanor public defender is 56 to 66.
No, I'm talking, and then what about assistant district attorneys?
Well, these are their two positions. They have the felony and the misdemeanor.
No, I'm talking about for assistant district attorneys. Because according to the salary study, it's 65 to 93, and public defenders are 85 to 100. Is that correct?
Well, the public defender's office, they were set up with ranges. In your department, the others weren't. They were by the position schedule.
I
All
think
can-
we're mixing
all I
apples
can-
and oranges anyway.
Right. All I can
I
share
don't think
with
we
you is
need to
the-
do this.
Okay. Well, I'm looking at the salary study that has ranges for the assistant district attorneys. I'll sit down with HR and figure it out. Thank you.
Thank you.
I also have something I want to address. I don't think that you're able to, I need to confirm this, but we've talked about this before in the past. I don't think that you're able to make the effective date retroactive to when they started, because they've already performed the services at a particular pay. So if your motion, do you want to modify your motion to let me have a look at that? I don't think you can do it.
We've done it in the past. We have gone back into employees in road and bridges specifically and paid them back for years ago when there was a mistake
That was
made.
pursuant to an agreement, and remember, they signed a contract, and that was a
Yeah,
different
that was
issue.
different. So can we take this back up after the break? Maybe find this stuff out, come back to it and clean this
Well, I
up?
mean, if we can't do it, we can't do it.
I know, but Heather's saying she needs to find out some other information.
Well, look, we understand what the issue is. We're trying to make it right,
Yes.
but it has to be legal. There may be other ways to skin this cat, so don't leave, wait till after the break so we figure out how we can address this.
Okay.
Okay, moving on to item 1.3. Consider, discuss, and take appropriate action for an update on the new radio system information. Chair Clayton.
Yes, good morning, Commissioner Court, Judge. I want to thank Judge and Commissioner Harris, involved in a couple of meetings last week, or the judge was. We spent several hours together on our new radio system.
I think
And now that we're on,
focus on comp time.
yeah, there you go. You missed a trip, right, a weekend trip. What I want the public to know is basically the bottom line is our radio system has passed its shelf life. Okay, we're about 15 to 20 years old, and I'll give you some more detail on that in a minute. But a lot of people refer to this as the sheriff's office radio system, and this is a countywide radio system that's used by us, the constable's office, adult probation, animal control, the volunteer fire departments, the Department of Public Safety, Texas Parks and Wildlife, and KPD when needed. They have their own radio system, but they come on ours also. So this is, like I said, a countywide infrastructure system that needs to be updated. Like I said, our system's about 15 to 20 years old. They kind of recommend on our radios you replace them every 5 to 6 years, which we're quite a bit behind that. What they got me to understand how you compare it to is like a cell phone. I couldn't tell you what iPhone was 15 to 20 years ago, or a laptop. That's kind of how they put it to us. A lot of things have changed in that time. So some of the options, we currently have Motorola. Motorola is a very good system. It's very expensive, but it's really good. And both these bids, I'll talk to you about Motorola and LCRA, are around $5 million, give or take. We're still going back and forth what we need, what we don't need. But what I understand about Motorola, it's considered a VHF system. And, I don't want to get in the weeds on that, but VHF is basically, my understanding, better for our terrain and our geography where we're at. So compared to LCRA is the other system. LCRA is a 700 system, which my understanding works really good on flat land.
700 megahertz.
Yes, 700 megahertz.
Hasn't the city already decided on that?
Yeah, and I'm going to explain. Yeah, the city has went that direction, and we'll discuss that in just a minute. But the city has, Gillespie County, Kendall County has, and there's pros and cons on both of them. But like you said, the city has went to that. The difference between the city and us, the city operates off one tower. We have multiple towers. That's something we're looking at doing away with this upgrade, maybe because we pay leases, insurance on all those towers.
And so just make a little bit more discussion.
Okay.
Things I learned. The county has 9 towers,
Yes.
and we still don't have complete coverage, even with VHF in West Kirk County. There are places out there that we simply cannot access.
In East Kirk County.
In East Kirk County.
Yeah,
On the
exactly.
full range of the county.
Yes.
Everybody remember, the county's long and skinny, from the headwaters of the Guadalupe, till they took it away from us. Literally. And that's what happened. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
But 9 towers.
Yeah, 9 towers, and look, with this upgrade, we're hoping to do away with some of those towers and move forward. And just because the city went to LCRA doesn't mean we have to go, but it is going to require some dual band radios, which is more expensive, but that way we'll be able to communicate with our fellow officers. Both LCRA and Motorola are similar in price. It's pretty close to the same. But as your sheriff, what's most important to me with every system we go to is public safety and our officer safety. That's going to be number one. I really can't put a cost on that. But what I plan on doing moving forward is we have a couple of more meetings set up with each one of them, kind of narrowing it down, the price a little bit more, and then what I'm going to request is a workshop in front of both y'all when we're ready. Tentatively, I'm looking at May. We're still getting the numbers together. Basically, let each company come in here at a different time and give y'all a presentation. That's what I'm looking
I
at.
have a question about, when we did this before, Larry,
Yes, sir.
the volunteer fire departments had to upgrade their handhelds and all of that. Are they gonna be able to keep the equipment that they have at the volunteer fire departments with this new system?
Okay, it depends which one. If we go to the LCRA, no, we have to get all new equipment. If we stay with Motorola, they will be able to use some of it, but they'll also have to upgrade some of it to be able to communicate with the 700 system in LCRA.
So is that the personal stuff, the stuff they carry on them, or is it the stuff in the trucks?
Stuff in the truck
Stuff in
primarily.
the truck, okay.
And probably some portables we're talking about. We're going back and forth for more of their officers probably getting a dual band radio. That's the problem here. To talk to both systems, you need what's called a dual band radio.
They're not gonna be left out.
No, not at all.
It's expensive for them.
Yeah, I know
My
without
point
a doubt.
is that, they get a new system and there's a trickle down.
Sure.
Everybody else has to come up with money to fix theirs.
And they are on board.
Trust me, when we met on Friday morning, Commissioner Harris was there, and I was there, and when we spoke, we said, we're here to make sure we bring the VFDs along with us, whatever we do.
And Brian Alexander.
Yeah, the
Well,
president.
he was sitting right beside me, and everything we talked about, I turned to him and said, is that okay? Is that okay? So we're in lockstep.
Yeah, this is a joint effort.
And so that the public understands, there are single band radios that some of the VFDs have, okay? That's gonna be problematic. We need at least dual band, but I think we're actually gonna do multi-band.
Yes.
And we're gonna go from, to a 4-channel radio system countywide. The VFDs, they're good if they have a dual band, because that allows them to communicate with us, and the other channel can be used to communicate with the fire department, the police department here, EMS, 911, whatever. So, there is the 700 megahertz, took me a week to learn this, but I learned it. And I'm not a radio man. You are, I'm not. But the channel that's 700 megahertz and the channel that's VHF, they're just different channels. And so as long as you have a multi-channel radio, you're still in communication.
And I know less about it than you, because I wasn't at that meeting. So, when you say different channels, does that mean you have to click from one to the other?
Yes, sir.
So
Yes.
that you're not automatically, and if we went with the LCRA system, then whenever you spoke, I mean, the KPD and your office and the volunteer firefighters will all hear everything at the same time?
Yes, sir. Yeah, now the PD does have a different channel than us, so you still have to switch, but we can scan and listen to both of them.
But what I learned was, if we go through dispatch, then everybody hears it.
Correct.
So, because dispatch is set up technically to be able to do that.
So with the dual band, our county folks will be able to talk to the city folks
Yes.
on
Yes.
one of the channels.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And that's why the workshop's gonna be so important for all of us.
Yeah, you gotta understand with the county, like the west part of the county, I realized something from Ryan, they gotta talk to Gillespie County. They work with, the other fire departments in the west part of the county, so they gotta be able to communicate over here, where on the east part, you don't normally work, with Gillespie County, so it's quite complicated. But that's kind of my plan, is to try to get it all narrowed down, get a workshop, bring it before y'all, and then we just ask all the questions and kind of hash it out.
And for us to buy more equipment, that the clock is ticking on the minute you receive it. Exactly.
And I got Judge, people ask me all the time, how long's our system gonna last? I could guess a year or two, but what I want you to realize, our equipment, that you can't get maintenance on, you can't get it repaired, the radio goes out, we just throw it away. But now, this project, so I think it's gonna take longer, but they're telling me about a year, isn't that correct? So, it's a year out, even if we approved it today.
I believe they call it out of service,
Yeah, out of service, off shelf life.
and you just don't get parts anymore.
You don't get parts, you don't get upgrades, you don't get any of the stuff you need.
And my understanding, with this new system, it gets updated through the radio waves, is my understanding. It's old equipment, you'd have to take it in, so, obviously technology in the 15 or 20 years is way advanced.
Does the $5 million figure cover the upgrades for the volunteer fire departments as well?
No, sir.
Do you have an idea or will it depend on which system you get, what that cost would be?
Yes.
Yeah, that'd be
Exactly right.
big.
And I did a preliminary look at it. They're doing a cost analysis as to how much more it's gonna cost to keep the VFDs with us, technology-wise,
Yes.
for the VHF system versus the 700 megahertz system. But it looks like 700 megahertz is gonna be about $1.5 million, and the VHS is gonna be much more economical.
Yes, sir.
So are we going to be able to buy so that they come in under any kind of a discount or umbrella or?
Well, they did offer, they will offer a discount at the very end. Once we decide on exactly how many radios we need, portables and stuff, then we'll get to that bottom line of a discount.
Sharpen the pencil.
Yes.
And just as a forenotice to the public, we're looking at possibly using our ARPA funds to be able to pay for this. So that issue's surfacing and setting in.
It's kind of like they have an idea how much we got, right?
Either that or the taxpayers.
It's either that or the taxpayers, that's right.
Well, as far as I'm concerned, personally, there are a few things I don't mind paying for.
Exactly.
Keeping my house from burning down, and getting an ambulance out there is way up there at the top.
And you would
Through your experience.
You had to bring that up.
Well, you did great though.
That's
Anything
it.
else?
No, sir, that's it. Thank y'all.
Thanks, Sheriff. We've got a 9:30 item, timed item at 1.4, which is consider, discuss, and take appropriate action to approve the resolution to raise awareness of Dieter Center's Meals on Wheels program, recipients and volunteers as part of March for Meals initiative celebrating 50 years of Older Americans Act nutrition program. Brenda Thompson.
Good morning. Okay, I'm gonna get you on a positive note here. This is a positive thing. Meals on Wheels is doing the Older Americans Act was approved back in 1972. So this is our 50th anniversary of the Older Americans Act approval to help us with our Meals on Wheels program, with funding for our Meals on Wheels program. The really neat thing about this is we in Kerr County can actually say we've been doing this for 52 years because Harry Dietert and all the volunteers that started the Dietert Center 52 years ago started doing this and providing meals in our community for our seniors. So it's really kind of neat to be able to say, yay, 50-year anniversary, but we're 52 years, so we got a leg up on them a little bit here in Kerr County. Annually, we deliver, last year, 68,000 meals in our community to over 300 meals per day, which equates to 68,000 meals per year, and that was during the pandemic. Prior to the pandemic, we were about 71,000 meals per year. So we were keeping going, and our numbers are going up. We deliver 250 to 300 meals a day, and the big part of this is that we're not only delivering a meal, we're delivering a person that's going there and checking on them. They're not in isolation. The homebound seniors, they are waiting for us at the door, looking out the window, seeing us drive up, and they are really, it's a nice thing for them because they may not see anyone else any other part of the day. So with all of this, we had over 21,000 hours of volunteer service to help us provide these meals to our seniors. And that's about 200 volunteers. So 200 volunteers put in over 21,000 hours of service. It's a phenomenal thing. Next week is our March for Meals official week that we're going to be doing some ride-alongs, and I know Commissioner Harris has already signed up to come do a ride-along. If you haven't ever done that, it is well worth the time to come do it and see what it's like. You walk away with a really different feeling in your heart about what this program is doing for our community seniors. So we would welcome the Commissioners Court and the judge to do a proclamation to support us in our 50th anniversary for Meals on Wheels, which in turn helps us celebrate our 52nd year of providing this service in Kerr County.
Now, this is a proclamation that I can support. This is local government at heart. We are a partner with Dieter, and we are proud to be a partner with Dieter on this. So I make a motion.
300 meals a day is more than a lot of restaurants, sir.
Yeah, and
That's a lot of meals.
that's for our homebound seniors, and then we still have our Friendship Cafe that we do get some funding from the Older Americans Act to help us with our Friendship Cafe also, and we're having about 40 to 60 people every day come there. So when you add that all up, we're doing a lot more meals, and we're trying to get that back to pre-pandemic numbers where we were 80 to 100 every day. So we're slowly getting that back going.
And your invitation to me to come eat at Dieter extends to the whole court, right?
That's right.
We eat there quite often. It's pretty
Yeah.
good.
Yeah, you come in, and if you're 60 and above, you come in, fill out some paperwork for us that helps us with some of our funding reimbursement, and you can come eat for a donation. And it's really good food. Staff eat it, we all eat it. After everybody's done, we go in and eat, and it's great food.
You looked at me when you said you're over 60.
No, I looked at everyone, without a few couple exceptions in the room, everyone here I think might fit. And if you're under 60, it's only $8 to come eat lunch. I'm not sure you can go find that anywhere else in town. Plus you get to come in and visit with some awesome seniors who they bring us a wealth of information into our community. It's really been a true thing. I've been at Dieter Center for 4 years. I have heard so many stories and experiences from people that have moved into Kerr County that we have a wealth of information in our community. So, the Older Americans Act funds about 40%. We get reimbursed about 40% of the meals, and we have to raise funds to make up the other 60%. So our community is very supportive of us on that, and we have been able to succeed with that. Some Meals on Wheels agencies across the state, across the country, but across our state, have a wait list. And we do not have a wait list. We never turn anyone away. If somebody calls in and says, my mom needs, or I need meals delivered to me, we go and get them assessed within a day or two, and they can start their meals immediately. We just find the money to pay for that. So Dieter Center has been a true partner in our community for 52 years to make sure that we're providing these services for our seniors.
And so that the public understands, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead. I was just gonna second your motion, so I'll say.
Okay, go ahead.
I second your motion.
So the public understands, when we go through budget, and some of the nonprofits that we support, one of them is Beaver. And the reason for that is, just as she identified the 40% of the meals that are covered by federal programs, is because they are an extension of the county. We share with them in order to be able to enable them to be able to partner with the federal government to provide these services. So this is government working together with nonprofits. We're very proud of it.
Thank you.
Got a motion and a second, any other discussion?
I would say it's very rewarding. We didn't do it last year because of the coronavirus, but the year before I went on 2 different days. I enjoyed it, and if y'all go, you can pick a route that's in your precinct and what have you, and I went on a couple of West Kirk County, and it was good.
Okay, show of hands, those in favor, raise your hand. Unanimous.
Thank
Always
you.
will be done, thank you.
Give us a call if you want to come next week. I make a breakfast every morning. Come for a good breakfast. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Item 1.5, consider discuss and take appropriate action to have the transcripts prepared for Commissioner's Court if the reporter is not present. Mr. Letts.
I put this on the agenda because at times, like today, in the last meeting, the meetings are on YouTube and they're recorded, but there's no transcript of it. And the transcripts are really helpful to figure out what we've done years down the road or weeks down the road. And Jody's found a company through Region J that does the transcription. They're pretty good. It would probably cost more. Those are average about $250 a time for a Region J meeting, but those last about an hour, hour and a half. So this, you're probably looking at an amount of maybe $400 to $500 a meeting, and maybe less. And then there is also times that
Per meeting?
per meeting. And
You
this
said 250 and it jumped to 400?
Well, that was for an hour and a
Region
half.
J for an hour and a half.
Oh, okay.
is-
We talked too long.
Yeah, we talked about it. Yeah. So I think it'd be worthwhile. I think we could probably find the funds. Hopefully this won't go on too long, but I think having a transcription is very helpful. And this may be, if the transcription really is accurate, it may be an option long term.
What's the turnaround?
Jody?
It's typically 5 to 7 days.
5 to 7 days?
So,
Well, and by way of information, since COVID, or as Commissioner Harris calls it, China virus, whatever you want to call it, we've been conducting our court proceedings, many of our court proceedings, all of my dockets, all 3 of my dockets, juvenile, probate, and most of my probate, and then my mental health, we conduct them on Zoom. And so the court reporters aren't even present in the room. It's the same thing. They're doing it from the recordings. So this has become very, very much the norm rather than an exception to things as to how to do it. And with the YouTube, they actually can go on YouTube and track along and watch us and listen to us as they transcribe. So I'm very much in favor of it.
I'll make a motion that we use the service for a couple of days, our last 2 meetings, this meeting and the meeting prior, and see how it turns out, and the funds would come from Commissioners Court contingency, so for line item.
2 meetings?
Yeah, just to
See if it works.
See if it works, see how accurate it is. It's my motion.
I'll second.
Got a motion and a second to approve transcribing Commissioners Court meetings, 2 Commissioners Court meetings, last meeting and this meeting, remotely. So with that, any other discussion?
Yeah, I have a question, and since it's already on YouTube, and I know before we started putting on YouTube, we discussed, there was other options that were more expensive, and where you could go right to the agenda item or what have you, and stuff like that. Would that be usable in lieu of this, or an upgrade over what we're doing now?
Well, I think that I'm always anxious and glad to look at different options. I'm trying to really get us caught up for the last, month or so, a couple of months, and moving forward. We glad to look at different options.
So if we have a written record, it maintains consistency with what we've always done. And it doesn't add an extra burden of work for the court reporter upon return. We get you're talking about getting the backlog done, provided that this looks like it's a good viable service.
Right.
Okay.
And then moving forward, I'm open to looking at other options as technology improves.
Well, I agree with you. I think we ought to have a written transcript, because just having a video of something is.
Yeah, you need
Not
some
really.
sort of an index, if
Yeah.
nothing else, a subject
They'll
index.
need microphones. I mean, honestly, when I'm trying to hear, it's hard to hear.
That's true. It leaves a lot to be desired, but even so, if you can sit down and look at something and highlight it and go back over
No,
it,
I agree with that.
much better than having to rewind
Right.
the video and all that
You
crap.
bet.
Yeah.
From a staff perspective, there's a lot of value in being able to word search and to try and find
Right.
something that you guys have done 10 years
There's
ago.
programs to search through
There's,
that.
there's
Yeah.
value in
Sure.
that.
And to clarify on my motion, when I said the last two meetings, I mean this meeting and our last regular meeting, not a special meeting.
Okay.
Any other discussion? Those in favor, raise your hand. Unanimous. See if we can squeeze one more in here.
Judge, I'm ready to give you an opinion on the item from 1.2, because the staff is still here,
Okay.
waiting on that if you'd like.
Okay, go ahead.
The county is not able to go back and make that effective retroactively unless there was a policy in place before the hire dates of those particular employees. So you're able to approve the pay today, but unable to make it retroactive since there was not a policy in place at the time.
Then I'll modify my motion to make it effective today.
Second. We've got a motion and a second to make the pay increases to grade staff effective today rather than retroactive. Let the employees know that we would and could.
When will
We would.
So does that come out of their contingency or something for that department?
It's in their budget salary. It's a business TIDC budget.
They pick up a bigger part of it then.
That become all of it.
We've got a budget amendment.
Or
the last
all of it,
one.
2/3 of it.
On
Yeah.
this.
And then the part.
Did you say something?
We have a budget amendment, it's the last one on your list, that will address that.
Okay. So we've got the belts and suspenders to make this work. Okay. Any other discussion? Those in favor, raise your hand. Unanimous, 5-0. Why don't we go ahead and take our morning break, and we'll come back in 10 minutes. We'll come back to order. Item 1.6, consider, discuss, and take appropriate action to ratify and confirm a letter that I sent to the TABC regarding the Kerr event to serve alcohol at their fundraiser on March the 19th. K-Star contacted us. We have a time limit in which we have to get these letters out to TABC. I did it, so I'm here asking for forgiveness.
Sometimes that's the best way.
Well, I talked to the boss, she's in there, and
Okay.
she says, well, why don't you just go ahead and do it, get it ratified.
I'll blame it on Joe.
Well,
Make a motion.
it's-
This is the second time this has happened. I just want everybody to realize that. Third time's a charm. I don't know what that'll mean, but
Well, but realistically, it wouldn't happen if we hadn't done it. And so I figured the worst case is that you
Yeah,
don't
take a
approve
little,
it.
like,
So,
How can we not-
the default position was not that bad.
I move for approval.
second.
Thank you. Any discussion?
Happy to bail you out.
Two-time offender. Those in favor, raise your hand. Unanimous. Item 1.7, consider, discuss, and take appropriate action on relinquishing plating to the city of Kerrville for a lot on Town Creek, within Kerrville city limits.
This is a really interesting dilemma, and Don Vogel will tell you more.
Don Vocal, Kerrville, Texas.
Resident civil engineer.
One of them. Mr. Lambert owns property on Town Creek Road adjacent to Horseshoe Oaks, and he wants to plat 1 acre on Town Creek Road. What the situation is that back when Avery's got water and sewer from the city, they brought it down Town Creek Road, and he actually he'd given an easement, and they annexed a strip of land along the front of his property. So part of his property is within the city limits. He has a water tap and a sewer tap that's going to be used for this 1 acre tract, so there's no need to get environmental health or anything involved. So it'd just be a lot simpler if we just were able to deal with the city. We've been talking to the city off and on about the same issue, and just feel like it's simpler just to have the city take over the planning part.
I think you're the first person to come to us to say that it's simpler to work with the city.
I didn't say it was simple. I said simpler.
Scary.
Kelly?
I do believe that Town Creek, that portion that you're talking about, I think was annexed in by the city of Kerr.
Correct.
So that
Yeah.
portion of the road is city
Right, so,
maintained.
Right, no, we understand.
That's right.
It's just unusual.
It is.
Right, but he had the easement, so it's a little bitty strip of land, and it made more sense for us to just relinquish that. So I moved to approve. Second.
We got a motion and a second to approve the request for the city to plat a lot on Town Creek for Mr. Lambert. Any other discussion? Those in favor, raise your hand. Unanimous, 5-0.
Thank you all, gentlemen.
Those in the city, I'm just teasing, really.
For those in the city, he's really not.
Judge, for the record on that item, we knew this was gonna be on the agenda. You know, normally it's something that maybe would be written by our department, but it wasn't done in the dark. They met with Road and Bridge, with the engineering department, and we looked at this.
It's all good. All good. Okay, moving on to item 1.8. Consider, discuss, and take appropriate action for the court to waive plating oversight and approval to the city of Kerrville for revision of plat for Las Colinas, Kerrville lots 32 and 33. Mr. Hastings.
Thank you, Judge. This proposal combines 2 existing lots into one lot, Lot 32 and Lot 33. 1.25 acres each will be combined into Lot 33R, 2.51 acres with road frontage on San Carlos Mission. These lots are located in Kerrville's ETJ and would typically be platted through both the city of Kerrville and Kirk County at the same time simultaneously. This request is for the court to waive plating oversight and approval to the city of Kerrville. Although plating oversight would be waived, signature blocks for both the Kirk County Floodplain Administrator and the OSSF designated representative will still be required, and we've done that successfully in the past. It's not a problem. County engineer requested court waive plating oversight and approval to the city of Kerrville for a revision of plat for Las Colinas of Kerrville, lots 32 and 33, volume 8, page 34 through 39. It's precinct 1, and one added note, we don't maintain those roads.
Right.
Move for approval.
Second.
Got a motion and a second to approve the request for the revision of plat for Las Colinas, lots 32 and 33, and waive that, the oversight of that to the city. Any discussion? I had somebody this weekend ask me about these gated communities. Las Colinas is a gated community. And Charlie, as a general rule, the streets inside those gated communities are not open to the public, are they? They're not public use.
I believe in general, yes, sir. If there's a gate there, then it's not open to the public.
Depends how you define public, Judge.
I understand.
Yeah.
It's nuanced, I understand. But if a community removes the gate, does that make it public use? That was the question put to me, I don't know.
I think it does.
I mean, the public certainly can drive up there. Okay, I don't know.
I don't know that it changes the use of it.
May not change it. I
Legally.
think in every instance, we would need to go back and look at the plat, if there is a plat for it. I would assume
I
there
mean,
is.
you could put
And
it-
and look at that language specific.
We had this discussion the other day about public-private roads.
Right.
So,
It
it
goes
could be a
to private
private
road.
road, it's open to the public. There's no fence up there, then no gate, then
That's
I don't know if they put a sign, they could put a sign.
no, that's a public, it's a private public road. That's what we had to discuss. I've forgotten what road it was. We talked about it. We had lane. Why
If
not?
I leave my front gate open, it doesn't give you the right to drive onto my property.
That's a driveway.
No, it isn't. It goes to 2 houses, 3 houses. It's a road.
Does it have a name?
Yes.
What's the name?
Wayne Valley, east, south, something like that. And then when you get further out there, it goes
There's a
to,
red sign instead of a standing.
Right.
I forgot the one that goes to
That's
Citrus
right.
House. It's east, west. It's got, both of them have names. And if you put GPS, it'll get you right to my house on that road.
And it's up to county standards?
No.
Okay then. That's another matter.
But I don't think that makes any difference. I mean, if I have the gates open, it's not public road.
Just because it's public doesn't make it county maintained. We have a
I
issue
understand. I'm
with
teasing with
that.
you. I'm just harassing the commissioner.
I don't want somebody to think if they live in a gated community, if I remove the gate, the county will automatically take the roads in.
Clarify that too.
'Cause that's not,
Good point.
there's some things that have to be
You
done.
don't want his road.
You don't want my road, I can assure you.
Well, I looked through the gate.
Okay, we got a motion and a second.
But Judge, I think that point though, I wish someone could explain it to me. I mean, because we go round and round about what's a public road, and it has an impact on our subdivision rules. And
Well,
I hear different things.
Well, Kelly's point is a really good one. You can't just take the gate down and now we have to maintain it.
Right, well, there's a lot of roads that are no gate that we don't maintain.
Right.
But are public
but it's
roads.
true, I don't think we maintain roads that weren't built county specs.
No.
So, and a lot of those private roads were not built county specs.
Right.
It's fairly recent, since '07 or '01 is when the rule changed that all roads had to be built to the same specifications. It was '01.
But the discussion we had was about easements, and it was about taking away the 20-foot easement in front of somebody's house, and it was a private road,
Right.
privately maintained, considered a public road,
Right.
because there's no gate.
Well, back on topic,
I can help.
we got a motion and a second.
I can help with the other part of it. I'll prepare something and send it to all of you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other discussion? Those in favor, raise your hand. Unanimous, 5-0. Next item is 1.9, consider, discuss, and take appropriate action to the court to authorize the county judge to execute a construction contract for the placement of reinforced concrete bridge on Old Cypress Creek Road near the East Kerr County line, and authorize the closure of Old Cypress Creek Road from Gaddis Bluff east to the Kirk County line beginning March 14, 2022 through June 14, 2022, Precinct 3. Charlie Hayes.
Judge, Old Cypress Creek Road between Gaddis Bluff heading east to the Kerr/Kendall County line has a short span concrete bridge over North Creek that has failed, presumably from repeated heavy truck traffic recently diverted off of I-10 in the February 3rd through 5th, 2022 ice snowstorm. I don't know that it was officially diverted off. These truckers may have done that all on their own, is really what I think is what happened. But at any rate, we had a lot of really big trucks go over that little bitty crossing. The old bridge was not built to today's bridge standards. I don't know, 70 years old, 80 years old, we don't really know, and they didn't follow a good standard. Therefore, the road has been closed under the authority of the Road and Bridge Administrator, and the bridge deck has been removed by Road and Bridge personnel. A new bridge design has been created by the engineering department, and quotes were received from contractors for the labor, forms, steel reinforcement, placement, and finishing of reinforced concrete pavement. The low quote was $16,200 from Rojas Concrete Company. Road and Bridge will supply concrete for the contractor. It's approximately 35 yards, 4,000 PSI concrete we're going to use. It'll be about $5,000–$6,000 of concrete. The continued closure of Old Cypress Creek Road will be necessary to allow for the construction and curing of the concrete, the pavement tie-in by Road and Bridge, and any weather delays. The road is anticipated to be reopened in the beginning of summer, assuming that the project is awarded today and construction begins within the next few weeks. The county engineer requests the court approve a contract with Rojas Concrete Company in the amount of $16,200 for the labor, forms, steel reinforcement, placement, and finishing of a concrete bridge on Old Cypress Creek Road, and authorize the long-term closure of Old Cypress Creek Road from Gaddis Bluff east to the Kirk County line beginning March 14, 2022 through June 14, 2022, Precinct 3. And as soon as everything's ready, we'll open it if we can sooner than June 14th. If for some reason we need more time, we'll come back to the court. But 3 months is a good amount of time, considering we could have some weather delays.
I make a motion to approve the slight change to what you said, authorize a long-term closure to through traffic. There are people that do use that road and will need to use that road up to that bridge. So it's only closed to through traffic during that period. Other than that, I approve the agenda item.
Second. Got a motion and a second to approve as amended. The motion. Well, not, actual motion included the limited to through traffic. Any discussion?
Charlie, what's the minimum amount of time you want for curing?
28 days,
Okay.
full strength. Yes, sir.
They test bridges across the state.
Yes.
Is someone gonna come out and inspect this and give it a thumbs up?
No, because the bridge program that tests those bridges and inspects them every 2 years is for a 20-foot span, and this is an 8-foot span.
Is that why it's so inexpensive?
Yes, sir.
Right.
Material?
Yes,
It's a very small bridge.
very, very small. It's a low water crossing.
Yeah. I know. but
Yeah.
Still, that's not much money.
Charlie figured out how to do it, but I should, Charlie and some of the personnel at Road and Bridge figured out a way to keep the cost down and the quality up.
That's absolutely correct. Let's give credit where credit's due. Robert Sims and Vance Lick both had a lot to say with how's this going to be done, and they had some very practical advice that they gave me, so we were able to change our design accordingly. I know we got some initial quotes that were higher, and their advice alone brought it down $12,000.
Okay.
So
That makes sense.
yeah.
Good.
So if I ever want a bridge at my house, I know who to go to.
Go to the road and bridge guys first, and then have them design it, and then I'll design it. They have the practical advice. They do this stuff every day. All joking aside.
All joking aside.
Yes.
That's great, good job.
I'll watch that tongue-in-cheek stuff.
Yeah. Those in favor, raise your hand. Unanimous, 5-0. 1.10, consider, discuss, take appropriate action for the court to authorize the county judge to execute construction contract for an equivalent match project, Fall Creek Branch Channel restoration under Camp Scenic Loop Road Bridge. In return for the waiver of the local match fund participation requirement on the approved federal off-system bridge program, Witt Road reconstruction over Verde Creek. This is in precinct 2 and 4. Charlie?
Thank you, Judge. Kerr County participates in the Federal Highway Bridge Program. We've talked about that, bridges that have a 20-foot span or more in that program. It's a federal aid program that provides funding to enable states to improve the condition of highway bridges through replacement, rehabilitation, and systematic preventative maintenance. The participation breakdown is 80% federal, 10% state, 10% local. The bridge we were just talking about doesn't qualify for this program because it's too small of a bridge. In 2000, the Texas Transportation Commission allowed local governments to waive their local participation, which is 10%, through what they call an equivalent match work. In 2019, the Kerr County judge was authorized by the court to execute a funding agreement contract with TxDOT, allowing for a waiver of local match fund participation in the Precinct 2 Witt Road Bridge Reconstruction Project. Y'all will recall that happened right before COVID. TxDOT,
Out of 480.
yes sir. TxDOT has estimated that replacing the bridge and approaches, this is for Witt Road Bridge, including the engineering and administrative costs, will cost approximately $1,163,356. Therefore, and that was at the time that we entered the funding agreement. And then once that gets signed, that's the numbers that we use from that day forward for any matches that we have. Therefore, the 10% local cash or equivalent match would be $116,356. So we had an option of just saying, we're gonna write you a check for $116,356. That's our local match. Or you can spend $116,356 somewhere else. And we've got an agreement with them that said, you can spend that somewhere else. Well, we found a good project for that. The Kerr County Engineering and Road and Bridge Departments have identified an equivalent match project, and that's the Fall Branch Creek Channel Restoration under Camp Scenic Loop Road Bridge, with a total estimated value of $138,360. And this estimate is based on average TxDOT low bids over a 3-month period in 2019, and also includes engineering costs. So any costs that me or my staff have in putting together plans for this. This project was approved in the fiscal year 2020 Kerr County capital budget, and it is carried over to the fiscal year 2022 approved budget awaiting award. We did have problems since 2019 because of COVID and some other circumstances where this project just kind of got mothballed for a while. But we're finally at the doorstep ready to move on it. The Road and Bridge Department has purchased the materials necessary for the channel restoration project to commence. So we've been stockpiling and getting material together. We bought gabion baskets and stone and basket fastening rings, and the engineering department received quotes for the labor. The county engineer requests the court authorize the county judge to execute a construction contract with Rojas Concrete in the amount of $15,200 for the Fall Branch Creek Channel Restoration under Camp Scenic Loop Road Bridge, an equivalent match project, in return for waiver of the local match fund participation requirement on the approved federal off-system bridge program, the Witt Road Bridge reconstruction over Verde Creek, precincts 2 and 4.
I move for approval.
Second.
Got a motion and a second to approve the match grant proposal as presented. Any discussion? Those in favor, raise your hand. Unanimous. Moving on to item 1.11. Thanks, Charlie.
Thank you.
1.11 is consider, discuss, and take appropriate action to approve Kerr County Property Renewal Questionnaire for the Texas Association of Counties. Ms. Doss.
Yes, sir, this is just an annual renewal, and I have gone over the property listing with the auditor's office, talked with TAC, and they said that any listings that we would be adding after the bond election, we could just let TAC know at that point and add them later. But currently, this is everything that we have now.
Move for approval. We do this annually, it's a listing of all our properties.
Got a motion and a second to approve the property renewal questionnaire from TAC as presented. Any other discussion? Those in favor, raise your hand. Unanimous? Thank you. Moving on to item 1.12, consider, discuss, and take appropriate action to approve the revised Kerr County weather and emergency closure policy. We have a copy of it here.
This is, I'll get started on this, I've gone a couple of drafts, county attorney may not have seen the most recent draft.
I haven't seen a draft since last
Well, okay.
Thursday or Friday morning. So if it was Thursday afternoon or Friday morning, I've seen
You
it.
have not seen the new draft, it's not
Couldn't be distracted.
a lot of changes we've made. I think it's pretty clear, it's pretty broad, it kind of explains how it looks. To be a lot cleaner than the last policy.
This has to do with what we talked about in the last meeting about
Right.
emergency workers' pay and so on.
Right, it's kind of a little bit clearer on it. The judge is the one that, in summary, declares the emergency. There's some provisions that, who gets notified either by the judge or the Thomas, whatever it is. And then it's, pretty much it's without coming to the court, it's sheriff's, maintenance, animal control, road and bridge employees, subject to their elected official or department head designated the individual that they need, they get kind of essential duty or administrative pay for when they're working on those days. And then anybody else in other departments those elected officials or department heads have to come to court to get their employees approved. And it's such things such as payroll, or if the DA has some kind of a hearing that they need to have some of their staff on. Exempt employees are not covered by the policy. They have to work when they have to work. But hourly, this only covers hourly employees. So, I'll make a motion to approve the policy. I'll make a motion to approve the policy.
Got a motion and a second to approve the policy as presented.
A general comment, Judge, this is, something that I mentioned to the HR director, that we tend to do this type of thing, a lot of changing a policy. And a lot of times we change verbiage and all that, and that we really need to go through our entire policy manual to really make sure it's all consistent, and they're doing that right now. That's one bring up to the court, that we go in and change one policy, and sometimes it has implications on other policies, and then we end up with issues. So that's underway.
And the importance of this policy, and the reason that we've been discussing recently, is because this provides not just comp time when we have people working. When we have an emergency is declared, people that are these essential workers, which really are our law enforcement and road bridge, these folks for sure, that are out on the roadways, out on the streets, working. This provides for administrative pay to them, which is not comp time. This is on top of it. They don't get double dip, but this is actually payment to them for their services that they perform for the county during these emergencies. So it's an important policy. And we don't open it up to just everybody, because that way we're paying everybody that's sitting at home. We're paying the people that are out there exposed to the hazards.
Yeah, comes like hazard pay.
Right. Well, we call this admin pay.
Yeah, I know.
We've got to have a label for it.
Like hazard pay, that's what I said.
It's like. Okay, so we got a motion and a second. Any other discussion?
County attorney, you review it?
I'm good with the
Thumbs
changes.
up.
Yes, sir.
Okay, then those in favor, raise your hand. Unanimous, 5-0. Item 1.13, consider, discuss, take appropriate action to transfer the payroll processing function to the county treasurer's office. Ms. Doss.
Yes, sir. The treasurer and I have met on numerous occasions. We've come up with a flow chart, and we've met with the judge and Jonathan Letts and the county auditor. I think we're all in agreement. It's just a matter of personnel.
That's the next item on the agenda.
Okay.
Now, on this one, in the original agenda, we have discussed this transition, but I don't think we have a court order doing it. And I think, you know, the purpose of this really is to, and I'll make a motion that we, begin the process of transferring the payroll function from the HR department to the treasurer's department.
And I'll second that.
Now, we're beginning it, but when is the deadline? Has to be next pay period?
Well, I don't want to get into the weeds. I mean, I want to leave it up to them. We want it done, and I think they probably know it'll done next month.
What I can tell you is that we had a meeting in my office, and we went through the flow chart. We walked this thing through step by step. I asked for the big picture view, and I was told, let's get down in the weeds on this one, and we did. We took it step by step. And as we sat there, I sat next to the treasurer, and we, at each step, I would lean over to her and say, are you good with that? Aren't you good with that? And we're good. Everybody's good on this one. So with that, those in favor, raise your hand. Unanimous, 5-0. Let's go to the addendum real quick. Item 1.14, which is to consider, discuss, take appropriate action to add additional position to the treasurer's office. Just one dysfunction with this change. And I'll make a motion that we do that, because we've got to have additional personnel open to be able to handle that payroll. Add a position.
Is.
And I don't add positions, as you know.
I'll second, and then please, that's what we're doing then.
This is at entry level, at grade 1. What kind of employee are we?
It'd be grade 1 unless they come with somebody, or the.
1 in 15, is that what we're hiring at, the entry?
What's the,
Is that what it is, Tony? Tanya?
what's the grade of that?
That would be Jennifer.
Oh,
I don't know what the grade is.
I have sent an email to public sector for a recommendation. Based on the duties, I know what I would recommend. I don't know if we want to discuss that now, but I really would feel more comfortable after I've talked with public sector.
Well,
And we
that
need
is
to come up with a job
appropriate
description as well.
But we need the position. And
Well, but policy is, and this is what Commissioner Lutz was talking about a minute ago, they enter in a certain level. This is become the conundrum. So everything is considered to be entering in at one level and has to be considered on a per case basis, otherwise. Did I describe that correctly? We assume everybody's gonna be a new employee at a certain level. And then if not, we approve it in court.
Well, I think we need to come up with a job description first, and then I can provide that to public sector. And there's also internal equities. We have to look at the duties compared to what other similar positions with similar responsibility in other offices. We just need to make it internally equitable as well.
That doesn't address the policy issue.
Well, I think, I was hoping that we would have a proposed grade and step, plus a grade. I don't know how we can approve a position without having a grade.
Yeah. My
So we-
question, no, go ahead, Charlie.
No, we approve it now and then deal with it later, what they're gonna be hired at.
I realize the treasurer's office needs extra help to do this. But we're adding an extra person, and what's the responsibilities of the person that was handling this, it's still an HR.
Then we'll need to go to, I'm going to go to executive session for it to go further,
Okay.
Probably.
without going into.
But I will say this, the idea that we're gonna go and find out what other people suggest versus looking internally and saying, what do we need? That strikes me as a little bit, it's outside of what we really need to do. We know what we need this person to do. I don't care what somebody else somewhere recommends. What do you need them to do? The job description is right and correct. You don't have to have a measuring stick with somebody else. We decide what are they gonna do, when are they gonna do it, and then you interview candidates and you make them the offer.
Well, my biggest.
And we always have to have a guideline from public sector or somebody else. The market takes care of a lot of this.
And I think that we need to figure out what the equivalent job best we can in the
Yeah.
county is, and that's the grade, and go from there.
agree with that.
And it's hard to do that unless we know what that grade's gonna be.
I don't disagree with anything that you're saying. But I will tell you, as I was sitting in this meeting, leaning over to my treasurer, saying, are you good with this, or are you good with this? Everything was conditioned on, she's gotta have another employee to be able to perform this function. And I
Now,
assured her that I would bring it to the court, and what we're trying to do is get approval to be able to write a job description, and be able to find out what the market does dictate, and outline those duties and responsibilities. But going forward and doing this, it is implicit that we gotta have an extra personnel
Sure.
in that office.
I keep looking at her to see what her reaction is. I will never play poker with you. Ever.
Why do you think I'm asking?
I think if we're going to, I think we need to go executive session because of a couple of things, the way they do this.
Do we need to do that?
I can't vote for it until I
Yeah,
get some questions answered.
yeah, I think we need to,
They do it in Congress.
Okay.
why don't we finish up the rest of it? I mean,
Hang around, let's move on to the approval agenda and the information agenda. Approval agenda 2.1, budget amendments.
Yes, you have 7 budget adjustments in front of you. All of these are line item transfers. The first one is additional required mailings due to the new laws for the elections. The second one is mainly due to the increase in subdivision rules and architecture fees. Parking lot repairs, postage is greater than anticipated, property insurance greater than anticipated, maintenance, recycled, disposed of some paving liquids that were higher than anticipated. And then the last one you see on your list is for the $8,000 to move for the PDO, the transfers from misdemeanor salaries into the support staff salaries.
Now, this doesn't include anything retroactive. We've just been through that.
Correct.
I move for approval.
We got a motion and a second to approve the budget amendments as presented. Any discussion? Those in favor, raise your hand. Unanimous, 5-0. 2.2, pay bills.
Yes, invoices for today's consideration amount to $792,710.71.
I move for approval.
Got a motion and a second to approve the payment of bills as presented. Any discussion? Those in favor, raise your hand. Unanimous, 5-0. 2.3, late bills.
There are not any.
2.4, auditor reports.
There are not any.
Thank you. 2.5, monthly reports.
Yes, for January 2022, Treasurer's Monthly Report, Tracy Sullivan. Indigent Services, Director of HR, Jennifer Doss. For February 2022, Treasurer's Payroll Report, Tracy Sullivan. County Clerk, Jackie J.D. Dowdy. District Clerk, Don Lance. Constables, Precinct 1, Tommy Rodriguez. Precinct 2, Kyle Snyder. Precinct 3, Paul Gonzalez. Precinct 4, Brad Ryder. Justice of the Peace, Precinct 1, Mitzi French. Precinct 2, J.R. Hong. Precinct 3, Kathy Mitchell. Precinct 4, Bill Ragsdale. Indigent Services, Director HR, Jennifer Doss. Environmental Health, OSSF, Director Ashley Batters. Animal Control Services, Director Reagan Gibbons. And County Auditor, Andy Shelton. I move for approval.
second.
And a motion and a second to approve the monthly reports as presented. Any discussion? Those in favor, raise your hand. Unanimous, 5-0. 2.6, court orders.
All right, let me see if I can sort through these. A couple of, we haven't done a couple of meetings. On our meeting from December 28th, for 39133, there was a typo in it. It referred to, and that typo was corrected. It said January. It should have said February as the date for a public hearing. So that has been adjusted on that court order. And then on court order 39163, this is one related to the animal control services getting the temporary building. Slight change on that, it says approve and authorize the purchase of it says an office building, instead of saying an office building, I recommend we say a temporary modular building, which is actually what we're buying. And then the rest of those are orders, so those are court orders 39158 through 39190 from the January 24th meeting. And then on the February 28th meeting, we have 39208 through 39228. And then we have court order 39229 from our March 7th special meeting. And I make motion that we approve all those as amended.
Second.
Got a motion and a second to approve the court orders as amended and presented. Any discussion?
No, we haven't. Oh, do we want me to do mine first? Or do a separate?
Let's do a separate one, because I haven't looked at that.
Okay.
So we're doing the one that we're just presenting.
He just read it.
Okay. Those in favor, raise your hand. Unanimous, 5-0. And now another
Okay.
court order?
Yes, court orders 39181A through 39190A and 39191-39207 from Monday, February 14th, 2022 regular meeting. And they are all good. I move for approval.
What are the changes? What are we doing with those after that?
We didn't.
It's been a long time ago.
Those are all fine.
Yeah. Second.
Got a motion and a second to approve as presented. Any discussion? All in favor, raise your hand. Unanimous, 5-0.
I didn't vote on that.
Okay.
I abstained.
4-0. Okay, move on to the informal agenda, 3.1, status reports from department heads. Got a couple in the room, I'm looking around. 3.2, status reports from elected officials.
Judge, I wanted to pick up on a discussion you and I talked about Friday, see if I can get some input from the court, or if we need to do it on a separate agenda item, reference the bond election. As I discussed with you in the public on a regular basis, everybody is telling me, hey Sheriff, you're doing a good job, we're going to get you that new safety complex. I try to educate them and let them know it's not for me. Would I like a new building? Yes, but we're fine. But what the misunderstanding is, that they think that this is for the sheriff's office, and I don't want to hurt anybody's bond election, but at the same time, I know we have one coming up in November, and I dang sure don't want to hurt it because there's some items we really need. So just looking for input. We deal with the media on a regular basis. I'm going to educate them, but the public really has a misunderstanding of this bond election.
So the bond, with the city bond election?
Yes, yeah, they think it's a new facility for.
This is something I'm going to address also, so we can talk about it now. We've got three things going on. I think it's important for the public to be able to make the distinction between the three of them. We talked earlier today about the sheriff's communication system, and it's actually a county-wide communication system. We're talking about that is not in a bond issue context. That is going to be in the context of possible program that we use to spend some of the ARPA funds that we have, the American Rescue Plan funds. But that is an ARPA consideration. That's separate and distinct from everything else we're talking about. There is a lot of confusion out there about the bond issues and the elections that are coming. We have, in May, we have the runoff election for Precinct 2, which is a separate election. Then we also have the city election.
City's on the 7th, the 24th for the runoff.
Correct. And so there's going to be two elections in May. One of them's for the city, one of them's for the county. And on the city election, there's also going to be a bond issue. That bond issue is for the law enforcement center.
Yes.
And as the sheriff says, we're not weighing in on that, other than that is something that is completely separate. It does not involve the sheriff's office. It does not involve law enforcement for the county. It is a city issue. So you've got a May election that's going to determine a law enforcement facility bond issue and a city council election. And we're gonna have a later election in May, the 24th, which is the runoff election for precinct 2. And the statewide runoff, there's a number of runoff candidates. So I want the public to understand what's coming up. This is what the calendar looks like. But then, just to plug what we're doing, we've got a county bond issue that's coming to people in the general election in November. That's something that we've been working on for 3 years. We've appointed this Citizens Capital Improvement Planning Committee that has worked very, very diligently on this for these years. And that's a separate proposal that will be in November, and it is a bond issue. So the city has one in May, and we have one in November. And the November one is very important to the county, and we're not going to weigh in it right now, but that's something that we will be talking to the public about in the coming months, trying to get everybody educated as to what the county's needs are and what we've done to be able to pay for those needs very, very cost effectively.
Just want to make a quick slight clarification. We haven't called for the November election yet.
Correct.
Okay, because that changes a lot of things and what we can say and can do as elected officials.
And so that this is a precursor to y'all, and informative to those here that are county employees. The difference is that once we call that election, which will probably be in late July, early August, then those elected officials on this court cannot advocate in favor of the bond issue. We become informative only, no more persuasiveness, no more advocacy. But until that election is called, we can express our opinions on what to do on that bond issue. I tell people that we recommend it. So our function changes once we call the election, and that will probably be right at the 1st of August. Now, for employees, we've gone to the lawyers and gotten this clarified. Employees can advocate all they want, or against, for or against.
Right.
They have freedom of speech, that they're not limited in any way. Because elected officials on this court, the 5 of us will be limited once we call the election, but no one else is counted. Clarify.
Just correct.
And I would say this to you, Sheriff, good luck on trying to get people to figure out which is county and city, because people ask me all the time if I'm still on the city council,
Right.
that kind of thing. So there's a lot of them that just don't follow it very closely
Correct.
and don't make a distinction.
But we'll probably revisit this on a regular basis between now and then, just so
Okay.
that the public stays informed as to what's coming up.
All right, good deal, thanks.
Thanks, Sheriff. Any other elected officials? Okay, 3.3, staff reports from liaison commissioners.
Nothing at this time.
I said my spiel, I told the sheriff we'd talk about this today, so that's what we'll be doing. Make sure everybody understands.
I mean, one thing at the, it was in the paper, that's why I'm going to bring it up. The Animal Control Service Committee, as it's called, they had a meeting last Thursday, and a good part of that meeting was talked about traffic. And currently, the overall, not getting into the weeds on it, but the policy is that if somebody in the county, including inside the city, calls animal control, and that they have an animal in a trap, they will go and get the animal. And I used the word dispose before, and that's not a good word to use. They will do something with it. Some animals are euthanized, some are not. They have their own protocols for that. The question came up is that should we even provide that service? We don't provide the traps, but should we provide the service? And that's something that will come to this court at some point. There's some that are think we shouldn't provide the service, and there's others that think we should. So and there will be a little bit of controversy in that regards to how we go. So,
And to clarify, we are required, if it's a rabid animal,
yeah, if it's rabbit.
if it's suspected rabies, then that is counted.
Nuisance animals are part of that equation.
Well,
It
these
is
are
now.
that's what kind of what we're doing, nuisance
Yeah.
animals, but then nuisance gets into a gray area. Is a raccoon a nuisance? Well, you know, it depends on.
We're all going right there.
If it's in your trash can, it's a nuisance.
And, you know, so anyway, it's not a real simple solution. Reagan's looking at it a little bit, but it will be coming to the court because that's something that he, as soon as he can make his,
I got a personal story I'll share with you. Okay, so with that, we finished out our regular agenda, and we're gonna go into executive session on the personnel item. I think that's the only thing we have on executive
I
session.
think so, yes, sir.
Okay. So with that, we're gonna stand adjourned for just a few minutes, time for a commercial break, and then we'll start back up. It's 11:14, we're out of executive session. We were discussing a personnel matter in relation to item 1.14, which we're going to pass on and deal with later, and there's no other action to be taken, so the court is adjourned.